Chapter 10. The first day back at school, Georgie was sitting at his desk in Mr. Meyer's class, with the edge of a pillow poking him in the back, while he yanked at a loose thread on his sweater from Aunt Kayla. When he was at school, Georgie had to sit at a regular desk, not like the special short one he had at home. His chair was regular too, which meant that Georgie didn't quite fit in it. So he had to sit with a pillow behind him to support his back and a crate under his feet. Georgie had told his parents 100 times that he felt stupid sitting like that, and could they please tell Mr. Myers that he didn't need all that stuff anymore. But his parents said they were more concerned about his spine than his pride, whatever that meant. Okay, everybody, Mr. Myers announced, we're going to start working on our president's project, so I need you all to find a partner. Normally, Georgie would have been excited to find out they were doing a partner project. Normally, his head would have shot up as soon as he heard so he could fix his eyes on Andy across the room. The two of them would have smiled at each other and nodded, the first people in the class to have partnered up. But today, Georgie didn't dare look up. He knew that if he did, if he looked in Andy's direction, that Andy wouldn't be looking back. So he didn't look at all. He just kept tugging at those loose threads. Georgie hadn't spoken to Andy since that terrible afternoon on the phone over a week ago. He'd spent his whole vacation just hanging around the house, listening to his parents discuss cribs and car seats, 100% bored out of his mind. But being at home was way better than being anywhere else, because everywhere he went, it seemed like he saw another yellow flyer for Russ and Andy's dog walking business. When he went to the grocery store with his mom, there was one tacked to a bulletin board outside. When he was in the car with his dad, he saw 3 plastered to telephone poles as they drove by. Georgie figured if he wanted to, he really could have his own business, like he told Andy. He could advertise too, Georgie Dog Walker, walking, better than anyone. But what would be the point? Who wanted to walk a bunch of miniature poodles around in the snow with no one to talk to? The truth was, Georgie missed Andy, and not just because of the dog walking and making money. He missed Andy's house and Andy's mom's cookies. He missed playing board games with Lava Wars and listening to Andy talk about the latest video game he was trying to beat, when he'd get so excited and talk so fast that Georgie's ears could hardly keep up with the stream of words. Georgie sort of even missed getting kissed on the cheeks by Andy's grandma. Most of all, though, Georgie missed having someone to talk to. He needed to tell someone about baby Godzilla, that stupid baby who was ruining his life. He certainly couldn't tell his parents about it. Georgie's mom and dad had been so busy thinking about baby Godzilla lately that Georgie was pretty sure they didn't even know that he'd had a fight with Andy. Once his dad had asked him why he wasn't walking dogs anymore, but Georgie had just said he didn't feel like it, and his dad let him alone after that. And when his mom suggested that he invite Andy over for dinner, and Georgie told her Andy had the flu, she was so busy knitting a pair of baby booties that she actually believed him. Well, maybe his parents were oblivious, but Georgie knew he was in trouble. Andy was going to be partners with Russ for sure, and Georgie was going to be left with no one. Unless he tugged at that thread. No, he knew Andy wouldn't want to be partners with him. Why would he? Georgie knew he shouldn't even bother to look. But there was a little voice in Georgie's head that thought there might be a chance that maybe, just maybe, Andy would still pick him. But the whole rest of Georgie's head knew that that little part was crazy. Still, Georgie thought, it couldn't hurt to just look. So Georgie did. He lifted his head and found Andy at the front of the room. And as soon as Georgie saw him, he realized it was too late. Andy was looking at Russ. Georgie had been permanently replaced. He let out a deep breath and shrank back into his seat. Georgie studied the back of Russ's head, 1 row up and 4 seats to the left. It made sense, really, that Andy would want to be best friends with Russ. The two of them had more in common than Andy and Georgie had ever had. Andy was a killer soccer player, and Russ was probably the best basketball player in the whole school. Georgie had never even played basketball. Jumping and running weren't good for his back. When they played basketball in PE, Georgie had to walk laps with the asthma kids. It didn't matter anyway, Georgie realized. His hands weren't big enough to hold the ball. He snorted. Who was he kidding? He could be the ball. Is there anyone who doesn't have a partner? Mr. Myers asked the class. Georgie slowly raised his hand. Okay, then, Mr. Myers, why don't you two partner up? You two? Who was left? Georgie turned around to see. He couldn't believe it. Behind him, with her hand in the air, was none other than Jeannie the Meanie.